Well, good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. And if you could please rise, we'll take a moment of reflection before we start. And Sheila, we are here live, but we probably have some people that are online. So if you could give us the update on how people can join us, or if they get disconnected, how they can join us. Sheila, please.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter meeting ID 891-5626-2480. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being held in 2 locations, on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance at any point during this meeting, you can send a chat message to me, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. I'll first ask if any of the members of the council have any declaration of pecuniary interest, the general nature thereof. No one. If it does arise, certainly can declare it at any time if it does catch you. We have 2 delegations this morning, and the first one is dealing with a financial matter. The municipality's draft financial statements for the year ending December 31st. And I've got down here it's Barry Heaney and Kevin Tremble, Senior Manager, but it seems like you're flying solo today, Mr. Tremble, because I'm pretty sure I don't see Barry here unless he's joining us virtually. Kevin, welcome. Thank you very much. You could use the podium there. And I think you know how to operate that microphone. There you are. You're live now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Eccles. As Mayor Eccles mentioned, I'm Kevin Tremble, Senior Manager at BDO Canada in Hanover, and I'm part of the external audit team of the municipality of West Grey. So included in the agenda package are the draft financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Before I get into them, I just do want to highlight a few things. So to follow in the next agenda package will be a final report regarding our audit to the council members. It will go over that we are independent of the municipality of West Grey. It's a very important part of being part of the external audit team that we can issue an audit opinion because we're independent of the municipality. At this point, we're substantially done our risk-based audit. There's a few small housekeeping items to clean up here this afternoon with Carrie. Materiality that we used during our audit was $527,000. And also in this report that'll follow in the next council package, it'll be anything that we're required to communicate to council that we noted during our audit. So if there was any fraud issues, any internal control deficiencies noted, disagreements with management, and there was nothing that we need to bring to your attention at this time. We've also provided Carrie and Laura a management letter that we've discussed and reviewed with them. And they have a copy of that if any of the council members wish to see that. It's just provide suggestions or areas that could be improved. There's items in the management letter, but they have no impact on the financial statements or our audit opinion for the municipality of West Grey. So you do have a copy of the draft financial statements. Before I get into them, I do want to explain what's included in these financial statements. So if you go to page 10, of the financial statements, it has a note called basis of consolidation. So included in these financial statements are the numbers of the municipality of West Grey, the West Grey Police Service Board, West Grey Public Library, Ayton Union Cemetery Board, the Durham BIA, the Durham Cemetery Board, as well as proportionately consolidated West Grey's share of the Elmwood Fire Department, Sauget Mobility and Regional Transit, Elmwood Community Center, and the Sauget Municipal Airport. So it's a whole bunch of different organizations combined into these statements. If we go back to page 3, it has independent auditors report. So the very first paragraph is an important one. It's our opinion on the financial statements. So we have audited the consolidated financial statements of the corporation of the municipality of West Gray as at December 31st, 2022. The consolidated statement of operations, changes in net financial assets, and consolidated cash flows for the year then ended. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the consolidated financial position of the municipality of West Gray at December 31st, 2022. So this is a clean audit opinion. This is what you want to see. So we didn't find anything that we couldn't issue a clean audit opinion. The next paragraph, the basis of opinion. We've conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. The next section is responsibilities of management and those charged with governance. So management is ultimately responsible for preparing the financial statements. We do assist with that, but they are your numbers and we're just providing an opinion on them. Those charged with governance or council is responsible for overseeing the whole financial reporting process throughout the year. As the auditor, our responsibility regarding these consolidated financial statements is to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes an opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but does not guarantee an audit that will detect all material misstatements if they exist. If there's fraud, we do procedures to detect fraud, but it could involve collusion among multiple levels of staff. That being said, we didn't come across any fraud during the year. The report goes on to say some additional procedures we performed. And that pretty much covers it there. So if we go to page 6, the consolidated financial position. So I'm just going to do a very high overview of this. In the report that's going to follow for the next council meeting, it's actually going to outline in more layman terms some of the changes, ups and downs of the financial statements. I'm going to highlight some of the bigger changes. So under financial assets, you can see there's a subtotal there that in 2021 it was 14.3 million. This year it's down to 11.2 million, down about $3 million from 2021. And I think you'll see the theme of these statements as there was a big investment in capital infrastructure during 2022. So the cash was used up during the year to pay for some of this capital infrastructure investment in the municipality. The next section, liabilities, it's gone from total liabilities gone from 7.45 million to 6.63 million, so down about $800,000. The biggest change there is deferred revenues have decreased about 1.1 million. And again, that's the municipality using up some of their gas tax funding to fund some of these capital projects that were completed in 2022. So you can see net financial assets has gone from 6.8 million to 4.6 million, down about 2.2 million. Under non-financial assets, the biggest component of that is tangible capital assets. So that's the roads, buildings, and infrastructure within the municipality of West Gray. It's gone up 5.1 million. So that's comprised of additions of $7.9 million, plus assumed subdivisions of $900,000, less disposals of capital assets of $300,000, less amortization of $3.4 million. So a big, there was a lot invested into the municipality of West Gray during 2022. The total at the bottom of the page there, accumulated surplus, 87.5 million. If you flip to page 22, it does break down the accumulated surplus in a little more detail. It's made up of a general deficit of $385,000. Capital amounts to be financed. So these were projects that were completed during 2022 that are going to be financed through future increases in taxation or loans. 1.6 million. You can see you're invested in tangible capital assets of 82 million. So most of the accumulated surplus is tied up in the infrastructure in the municipality. Reserves and reserve funds have gone from 10.3 million down to 9 million. Again, some of these reserves were used to fund the capital projects that were completed in 2022. And then amounts to be recovered are long-term debt, employee future benefits, and the landfill closure liability that we funded in future taxation years. So for a total increase in accumulated surplus of about $3 million. So back to page 7 on the financial statements is the consolidated statement of operations or the income statement. Again, just some high level notes here. Total revenues are up $4 million from last year and up $2 million from budget. Biggest changes there, assumed assets. So when municipality assumes subdivisions, they have to recognize that infrastructure at fair market value. That was about $1 million in 2022 that wasn't budgeted for. And then Grey County's share of Durham Road West project, the money that West Grey received is about $1 million to contribute towards that. That's included in other income there. So that wasn't budgeted for, and you'll see an offsetting expense down below for the same amount in the transportation services line. So total expenses, 21.3 million versus 17.4 million last year or in 2021, increase of $4 million from prior year and $2.5 million from budget. The biggest item there was Grey County's share, as I mentioned, Grey County's share of the Durham Road West project. It gets shown as a revenue on the top part there, and then an expense going out when the stuff is paid for. So overall, an annual surplus of almost $3 million. And then it reconciles accumulated surplus for the year. On the next page there, it does show what happened to that, where that surplus does go. So it starts with a surplus of $3 million, and then you have your net tangible capital asset activity. So the municipality had a net investment of about $5 million into their tangible capital assets, which gets you back down to your change in net financial assets. So that's kind of the high level. I mean, there's 30 pages of notes that do explain the financial statements. I'm open to any questions, but I'm not going to go into any significant detail here in the essence of time. But overall, the audit went very well. It's always a pleasure working with Carrie and Laura and her staff. Very good to work with, and that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and that's always pleased to hear that. It's a good working relationship, and certainly don't want to get on the bad side of Carrie, and that's good that you've done that. Excellent. It's been opened up. Yeah, I don't even know whether there's a bad side to Carrie. I should say that. You've opened it up. Is there any questions from any of the council? Councillor Hutchison, Doug too.
Just looking at one question here, and I'm not sure if this comes from Kevin or from Carrie, but on page 27 our agenda, I guess it's page 26 in package, talks about income, and I'm just wondering, there was quite a, under item 13, other income, quite a substantial difference between the donations and prepaid special charges. Went from 2021 877,000 to 2022 over 2 million. Can you help me understand why there was such a big difference in donations?
I think through you, Mayor, some of that is that almost $1 million from Grey County that Kevin spoke of. So that's included in that line item, I believe. Also, I think in that line item, the assumed assets would be in there as well, I think.
Yeah, the assumed assets were about 900,000. So between the two of those is about 1.8 million. So if you take that off, it's a lot closer to what was in 2021 there.
And if I may have one more question on this is under long-term liabilities, page 17 on our agenda, page 16 in the report. Can you explain some of the we have loan payments 2022, 2021. It talks about when they're due, but maybe is there somewhere in there that it tells us a little bit about what the long-term contract is basically to pay off some of those loans, like talks about Durham wastewater, the police station and so on. So I think this is the loan payments, but it's not necessarily, the dates that are given there aren't necessarily the end of those loan payments. That's just a renewal period, right? And then we're into negotiating for future loan payments. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor. So on the, when you look at the water and wastewater ones, those will be the end of those two debentures. Those were Durham or Garifax, Highway 6, I think, OSTAR loans there. They've been on the books. So those are the final payments when you see that May 2023 and the December 2023. The other loan that you see there for the land for the future police station, that is a term, a bank loan. So that will be renewed on that December 2025. Is that wasn't debentured at the time. It was just a bank loan. So that's
okay. Good. So yeah, so some of those are coming off, which is good, given that we look like we're going to have to pay, looking at $1.5 million to paint the Newstead water tower. It's good to get rid of some loans so that we can start borrowing more money, right? Good, thank you. That's it.
What makes the world go round? It's cash flow. Anything else? Any other questions? This way it is in all accounting offices. It's very quiet, calm. Thank you very much, Kevin. Greatly appreciated. And I think I can speak for staff and certainly for council. Great to have BDO doing their audit and good working relationship. And we look forward to the continuance. And you said about another month and we'd have the final statements. This is it, final statements. This is it. Wow. Okay. Do we need that? I'll look towards the Director of Legislative Services to give me direction from here on in.
Through Mayor Eccles, yes, we do. So I do have a motion crafted if it's council's wish. So what I have is that in consideration of a presentation provided by Kevin Tremble, BDO Canada LLP, respecting Municipality of West Grey draft financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2022. Council approves the draft financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2022 as presented.
Very good. Heard the motion. Anyone want to move that? Deputy Mayor Hutchison and Councillor Townsend. Move and second that motion. Any questions on the motion? Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Thank you. I just, for clarification, I guess, when you mentioned draft, I guess that's where I'm kind of puzzled when we're passing this document. I would think it would be more final than draft, or just for clarification.
sorry, once you approve it, they will become final, but up until that point, it is still draft financial statements.
All right, thanks for clarification, Carrie. Any other questions? I shall call the question, and all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Day's work's done now, Mr. Trumbo. You can, again, thanks very much, Kevin. Appreciate that. Moving on then is we have a delegation from the Durham Library, and I believe Malcolm Bedell is here, Samantha Mund is here, and a few others. Yes, Yvonne. I was going to say, there's a few others that aren't on the list. There's one that's on the list. I take it that Stephen's not going to. Okay, that's very good. So you're the replacement, Yvonne. Okay, well done, well done. Thank you. So looking forward. Yeah, go ahead, Samantha, Yvonne. Malcolm. The CEO, Kim, you're going to just stay. Yeah. Very good.
She deferred this time.
Defer to the board. Malcolm.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mayor Eccles and Council, for allowing us to make the presentation to show you where the library is at the moment. And I'm just back from holiday, so I'm still in holiday mode. However, I will add something at the end, which will clarify some things. So we have a presentation for you, and it's starting off with who we are. And this is what we feel is the mission statement. I don't think I need to read that. I think everybody else can read it. There's not a problem with that. Okay. It's been a long time since 1860, and we have progressed somewhat. We feel there's a lot more to be done for Durham, and we feel that we're committed to doing that, and we'd like council to support us in whatever way they can with this. And we have 3 branches. We have the governance with a board of directors under the Public Libraries Act, which gives us a separate identity to being outside of the council departments. Operations under our CEO, Kim, and we have 2 part-times, 7 part-time staff, 2 student pages, 3 volunteers, and they do an excellent job. Absolutely. I went to 4 libraries when I was on the holidays down in Virginia and Cape Cod, and I can tell you that for the size that we are, we provide much more for the community than they do, which I thought was a very nice compliment to our staff. We have our partnerships. I think the free to use public space is really, really important, especially to new people coming in, that realize that they can get all the services that they need for free. And this isn't always the case in some of the libraries that I have seen. We engage in as much as we can with as many communities and partnerships as we can. We always look forward to making more partnerships, and we hope that this will continue to grow the whole of West Grey. These are a few stats for 2022. We don't have the present stats at the moment. We haven't got that yet. We have a board meeting in next week, actually, which will have that, which we can let you know later. I think it's pretty impressive what you can see up there. Especially the last one too is very important. We need to keep our youth involved. We need to make them realize that there's more to it than just what you can get on texts and all the games, et cetera, et cetera. There's much more to community life. Making the most of the library. We know we can do more. We would love to do more, and we understand the constraints that are around that make it a little bit more difficult. However, that won't stop us trying, and we will keep working with it, and with your cooperation, hope to improve the situation. Why it works? Well, we have our patrons, support from leadership. We're listening carefully to the community, and we have ongoing research. It's getting out into the community that is the one that really makes the most impact. And we certainly would like to see our impact grow. And we try as members of the board to encourage people to understand what the library means today in modern society. It's not just books, and it's not just the magazines, and it's a place that is available for all peoples and for all different types of needs. And it's difficult, even when you're on the board, to realize how much the library can provide for a community. And we have a couple of testimonials, as video from Karen.
Hello, my name is Karen Mortimer, and I am a member of the Friends of the Library and the West Grey Durham Lions Club. I enjoy being part of these organizations for the services they provide to the community. The Friends of the Library are volunteers who are dedicated to promoting and enhancing the West Grey Library and the service it provides to the community. We have assisted with the Children's Forest of Reading program, with their grab and go bags, and with the adult outreach programs, to name a few. Our book sales provide funding for the library for the purchase of additional supplies that is not available through the regular library budget. At this time, I'd like to invite you to participate in a trivia night being hosted by the library on Saturday, October the 14th at the Old Durham Town Hall. Teams can be made up of 2 to 6 people, and you can register online or at any branch of the library. The time is 7 to 9 p.m. and the entry fee is $10 per person. All proceeds from the night will go to the library to further assist in the many great programs they provide. So come on out, challenge your family and friends to make up a team and come for a night of fun, friendship, and trivia. Let's support our library so it can continue to provide all the great services it does for our community. Enjoy.
Thank you. And the next one, please.
Hi, my name is Loretta, and I've been a patron of the West Grey Library since we moved here in 2010. I've always appreciated the services that the library has to offer, but during the pandemic, it reached new heights for me. I can't tell you how thrilling it was for me to be able to get an email about a book that, you know, is very popular right now, to look it up and to see that 9 times out of 10, this library had it, or within the system, it could get it. And then I could pick it up outside on the table during pandemic times and be able to enjoy books. Wow, there was very little else to do. In the past few years, I really enjoyed a lot of the free programming that the library puts on. My husband and I attended the fly fishing seminar. I attended the flower pressing, the foraging. My husband and I went out on that with over 20 other people. So to have all of these things, everything is free. It's such a variety and depth to it for such a small community of libraries. We're very lucky.
The volume wasn't very good, but I hope you got the sentiment anyways. Okay, that ends our little presentation as such. Thank you for listening. Any questions that you may have that I can answer?
Or as chair, delegate. Any questions? Certainly. Councillor Hutchison, too.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Good to see that the library is getting used a lot. I know my grandchildren use it quite a bit. Question about the 3 branches. I thought with Elmwood that we're still providing some service. Maybe we don't have a physical building there, but are we not providing some service to Elmwood? I know the bookmobile is in the works. I'm not sure where they are with that. So can you comment on that?
Well, I think that we were saying physical building branches that we have. We do provide services for Elmwood, but that we were talking about just the actual physical branches.
Right. So we're not using the church basement anymore, right?
No.
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 So you have some mobile or something going up there, or?
Well, Bruce County are still in the process of getting that off the ground,
Mhm.
the bookmobile, and then whether they can service the Elmwood area, we're not sure of yet. But supposed to know that very shortly. We don't have a bookmobile. We have the use of the West Gray van, but that's more for a delivery service at the moment. Not sort of books in the van and people can go and get it and trade them. So
So
that's
it's
not.
sort of in limbo then right now, are we with Elmwood, like in terms of any library service?
It's we are aware of the situation and we certainly will be looking at it.
Yeah, okay.
Especially after we find out from Bruce County whether they are going to service that area.
Right, yeah, it sounds like the bookmobile is in the process, so, which is a good thing, so they'll have some service there. My other question was, if I may, is tourism. Do you get a lot of people stopping in for tourist information? I'm just wondering how well equipped are we for tourist type questions and information?
I defer that question to Kim, if you don't mind, Kim.
At the moment, most of the tourists that come in are looking for local history. So they're coming up to see about genealogy, that type of thing. We do have some local or some tourist pamphlets that are dropped off by Grey County to us. And then otherwise we send them to the bookstore, which is where all the tourist information is.
I wasn't sure if the bookstore was still providing tourism information because that used to be through the chamber. I think they used to do that, but that's good. Yeah, so good to see that we're handling that. I think that's an area that we could probably provide more information, maybe more pamphlets that locally that people could access that, and maybe someday we'll have a tourist booth and a museum to go along with it. That'd be great.
Okay, thank you, Doug, for that warning. Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
Thank you and good morning. To the chair person, you may want to defer this one to Kim as well. The presentation mentions partnerships with 14 local organizations and 630 programs and events. Could you give an example of some of those, what some of those are?
Kim?
Sorry.
Thank you. So some of the partnerships that we've started cultivating is we work with Foodland, and we've been working with actually the Hanover Probus. We've been working with local community members and developing them, and they're the ones that actually come in and do a lot of our programming. So an example is, you know, on Saturday we had a local artist that came in and she did a learn how to paint. Just very basic. The art gallery kind of does a little more than that. We do the base, you know, more of an introductory. So we have an agreement and a partnership with the art gallery that way as well. With the rec department here, we're working well with them. So we're constantly looking for new and interesting programs, and we don't have the expertise ourselves. So we will go out and look for individuals to help us with those types of programs as well.
Anything else? Just a bit of a clarification. You just said all programs and or, if I could, programs and or activities at the library are free. Is that there's no user fee or anything for any of the library activities?
No,
So you're saying no? Okay, good.
I'm trying to think, just to be careful, but no.
Yeah, oh, very good. Just in saying that, I guess, it must be excellent then that, the programming is free and the board is operating on a volunteer basis, and it must be that the staff are volunteers as well too. On that full time.
I don't like the way you're going with this one.
No. Just when you did say we'd like to do more and whatnot, and yeah, there are financial constraints, and I think this is more for the audience out there. Certainly appreciative of the programming and the accessibility to the programming from the citizens in the community for sure. It is paid for, but it's through the taxation dollars, the property taxation dollars. It's not, to get that programming to the individual where they don't have to pay anything. There is fees, and yes, you're appreciative of the fact that there are constraints from the budgeting process here going forward. That we got to work together to maintain that level of activity, but realize that it's certainly not a bottomless pot. And I think the presentation just before you had given us that idea as well too. So we'll look forward to that. What was the other? One question. Yeah, I think Kim is the full-time employee, and you've got 2 part-time or other full-time, and then there's on that slide there was 2 part-time and 7 part-time. Kim shaking her head there and wants to give a little clarification to that one, just to
Kim can answer. Yeah.
clear. Please, Kim.
Sorry, there was an error on that slide. There's 2 full-time and 7 part-time. Yes.
That's what I had assumed, but thank you for making that clear for me, and very good. Any other questions? Wait time. Deputy Mayor Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Echols, and thank you for your presentation. I certainly appreciate all the services that the library has for our community. Last year, we talked about the possibility of looking for some grants or funding. Have you had any success looking through various outlets for some support there?
We're constantly looking for grants if possible, and Kim does a great job sussing out anything that's available as such. The board doesn't get into the running of the actual library such. We leave that up to our CEO, and we have lots of confidence in what she can find. There's not that much out there, as you know. Well, you're looking for grants too. So it's a difficult process, but we certainly do look for grants. I mean, I'd love for somebody like Bill Gates to come in and sort of say, here's a couple of million just to outfit your, needs, but that doesn't happen.
No, I appreciate that. And I didn't mean to, I know Kim would probably be looking, but it's just because the more we increase, and the mayor's kind of identified it too, we got to be able to find something to support other than straight levy. But again, I appreciate what you're doing, and maybe we can start looking or help look a little bit around, because there's got to be something out there to help for the libraries. Thank you.
Okay.
In the Conservation Authority, we continuously talk about the 100-year storm or something of that nature. You were talking about funding, and kind of the parallel is Mr. Carnegie come along 100+ years ago, give or take, and was a tremendous, but it seems like it's not like the 100-year storm. It might be another 500 years before we find a Mr. Carnegie coming and helping out libraries across. It certainly wasn't Canada, it was North America at the time, where he, with his philanthropy, was tremendous. But
Yes, and we reported to you before, such as you well know, the government does not support any further increases. The OLA has not had an increase made available to them through the government since 1990 something.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's long overdue, and that would be very beneficial if one of the governments that gets in would sort of say, oh, yeah, maybe we should look at that and update it a little bit, which would make it a lot easier for all the various councils and so on and so forth to be able to open up the purses a little bit more because they'd have more. We look for that, but kind of down the road.
Yes, we won't turn a blind eye. We'll keep our eyes open, and if it does happen, we'll be there to snatch up on it.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, no other questions. Thank you very much. Just as an aside, Mr. Biddle, I believe you've been retired for how many years now? I thought you were on holidays all the time, but maybe I'm mistaken. On
This
that.
is a holiday job. Yes, I know. Since 2007. So I don't do the math anymore. It's just way back then.
Yeah. Well,
Carrie, sorry.
You're lucky. I was going to say 10 years, but apparently it's quite a bit longer than that even.
Yeah, yeah.
Retired. Congratulations. Thank you both, or all three of the board members that are here, Samantha, Yvonne, and Malcolm, for giving back to the community the way you have on helping the library and helping Kim make the library an integral part of the community and a betterment to the community. So appreciative of that, and we'll continue working together to make West Grey still be a leader, because we know we are in front already. We just got to keep pushing ourselves further ahead. So thank you again.
Well,
Great.
thank you. And we hope to do a presentation later on to, in the new year in 2024, also to further update you as to where we're going.
Yep.
Once again, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Very good. Okay. With that, that's for delegations. Public meetings. Don't believe we have any this morning. Jamie, we'll continue on. Comment period. Well, for the audience, just as I give about 2 more seconds, that's it for the audience. I don't see anybody here, but we do have one that was written in. Jamie, for comment period. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. This comment was submitted by Chris Palmer, and it reads as follows. Dear Mayor Eccles, Council and staff, I wish to add my support to the content of Marion Ratcliffe's correspondence requiring action. Agenda item 10.1.3 entitled Let's Make West Grey a Dark Sky Friendly Community. I also hope we can all agree that after acknowledging light pollution as an environmental issue in 2015, passing the Dark Sky Friendly Proclamation 162-16 in 2016, receiving my correspondence requiring action on dark sky measures in 2021, and staff acting on that correspondence by preparing a report to council stating that dark sky measures should be incorporated into West Grey official plan in 2022, that the time has now come for action. I look forward to this council taking the initiative now to set an example and protect this resource we are all so fortunate to have before it is too late. Kind regards, Chris Palmer.
Thank you. Any other? That was it for written in comments. Okay. I see no other ones. So I'll move down to unfinished business. Nothing that we're aware of at this point in time. Then we'll go to adoption of minutes. First one we have is regular council meeting. Held on September the 19th. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt those minutes? Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Any errors or omissions? Comments on the motion? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Also on September the 19th, we had a public meeting there, and the minutes are there from that public meeting. Do we have a mover and a seconder for those? Moved by Councillor New, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Joyce, Doug. Any errors or omissions? Thoughts there? Seeing none. We'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And we have committee and board reports. We have minutes from the September 13th Municipal Airport, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, July 20th, West Gray Police Services, July 10th, West Gray Public Library, May 10th, and June the 14th for the 2 library board minutes. We need a motion to receive those. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison and seconded by Councillor Forrester. Thank you, Tom Scott. Any questions on that motion? Councillor Noon.
Thank you. Just with the Saugeen Valley's minutes of July 20th, 2023, on pages 6 and 7, it talks about the Barney Pond, and they keep referring to closure of that. And just if it's something you can take back to your board, I'm not sure, but I would hope that in future, when they get clarification from all these different ministries and so on and so forth, that it can be reopened again. It's something that with today's economic and with costings and stuff, it's always been something free to our younger families in the community. So I would hope at some point it will be open again. So I guess where I'm coming from, that closure, I wish they would put temporary closure at this point. So if it's something you can take forward, or, and maybe there's others reasons why it is termed that way, if you have any follow-up you'd like to express on that matter. Thank you.
I'll defer that to the Vice Chair of the authority. Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
Mayor Eccles, and thank you for the question. And I'm going to be, okay, I think I could say this, being very cautious because some of us closed. But I think the reason why we have it stated that way is because one of the reporting agencies has not responded. So without that piece of the puzzle that we really need, we have to use that, because we got to be very careful that we're not violating any of the rules that we're kind of governed by as the conservation. So I'm trying to say that as appropriate as I can. So I'm not dancing around it. Yes, I agree. It is not a permanent closure, but once that reporting agency comes back and says, yes, you can carry on, and we have at least a green light to go forward, then we can change that. I hope I've answered your question.
Just let it be noted that I think both members from that are on the Conservation Authority from West Gray are pushing for a updated information on that at every meeting. And I think other than today being the humidity index being 34, maybe it would be nice if there was some water down there to swim, but we're getting pretty much past that. So hopefully for 24, we'll have a resolution on that for you. Okay. Other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Yeah, let's keep soldering on. Correspondence. Out of the correspondence package, we have 3 that are looking for some direction from council. Starting with the first one, 10.1. One is CUPE, request for council to proclaim Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Education Appreciation Day. I think Jamie's got a motion ready for that. You want to read it out, just what it says for the proclamation?
Through you, Mayor Eccles, yes, if it's council's wish, it is that in consideration of correspondence received from QP Ontario respecting a request to proclaim October 17, 2023 as Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day, council proclaims October 17, 2023 as Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day.
Does anybody want to move that motion? Councillor Hutchison, Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Questions or comments on the motion that's on the floor? Pretty straightforward. Doug, two?
Yeah, I support that. I think we need to commend all people that work with children. These are the early educators, but I also believe that I think we recognize the work that teachers do in our society. Along with this, that the children today are different from the children that I taught years and years ago, and but it's still a challenge, and also staffing is a bit of a challenge these days too, along with a lot of other areas, to get enough people to do the job. So it's not an easy task working with children, but we need them, and they do a wonderful job. So yes, I support that.
Children that you taught, Doug, are considerably older today than when you taught them. Councillor Noon.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely support this, but it has tips to recognize and celebrate the day. I was just wondering if maybe perhaps staff would put something in the local paper, or just to reflect that, you know, we as Council of West Grey support this thank you. So I don't know if that opportunity would be, could be put in the next paper or whatever. Thank you.
Jamie, to comment?
Through your miracles, putting content in the newspaper is an expensive venture. So if we were to do that, we would need council direction.
I do believe we'll probably highlight it on our on the website and whatnot. We're hopeful by October the 17th, we might even have a sign out here that during the daylight hours it can be lit up. That would probably be our best way of doing it, Joyce. Okay. All right. Motion on the floor. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. 10.1.2. And Jamie, do you want to speak to this one before we go ahead?
Certainly, through your miracles. So the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing is looking for the head of council's endorsement of 5 items on their Housing Affordability Task Force recommendation for submission for consideration by the Minister of Municipal Affairs. What I will note is that the minister was clear in their letter to us, noting that council endorsement of these 5 priorities is not required, so the head of council can submit those on their own.
I have, through county council, I've talked to a number of mayors on kind of strange, but I guess maybe it isn't with the present government that is at Queen's Park. This must be the greater mayor powers that they're trying to give us or something. I'm not sure. Excuse me. I have some mayors have just said, yeah, I went ahead and submitted the 5 of them. I just didn't feel comfortable. I'm looking for your advice. The way it will be, yeah, final, I'll check them off. But I would like to just have some consolidation from council on conciliatory on what everybody thinks kind of the 5 would be. I know we won't come to an absolute full, well, I shouldn't say I don't know, but we may come to a full agreement on all 5, but I'll be submitting them on behalf. So comments, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but if you've got 5, I asked that look at Doug too, Mr. Hutchison.
Well, I was going to suggest that maybe staff may have some input on this. Like some of them, we don't have any say on, coming from the provincial or federal end of it. But there are some there that maybe from a staff level that could work or couldn't work in our favor. But again, this whole idea of municipalities being able to do something with affordable housing, I think is somewhat of a stretch. But I'm curious if staff have had a chance to look at this and whether they have any suggestions that might that we might put forward. So yeah, leave it there.
Any staff member want to jump in on that one, or is all staff members going to say, it said it was the mayor, so we stayed out of it? Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick look, and I see number, oh, I lost it now. There's one on here, talks about participation by electronic means. Oh, number 16, no, sorry, 18. I would say that one shouldn't even be a thing any longer. However, it's on the list, so that would be one. I don't know if Mr. Shipwreck has had a chance to look through the rest of them. There's 74 here. But if Carl's logged in, so perhaps he's got a suggestion.
Yes, through you.
Go ahead,
Your
Carl.
Worship. Hi. I have had a chance to review the list and I do have some suggestions. I don't know if you'd like me to provide a couple right now, or if you want me to provide them writing to council. What would you suggest?
I suggest that you're live, so you might as well give us thoughts.
Okay. So a couple of them here, starting with number 6, I would suggest permit as of right secondary suites, garden suites, and laneway houses province-wide. Currently, provincial planning allows them on full service as of right, but I would suggest it would be an option to move forward with allowing secondary suites on all properties within the municipality, with some conditions, obviously, availability of land for septic and water, and within a cluster, so that the main house and secondary houses would be within a certain distance of each other. Some small conditions, but number 6, most municipalities, I'd say about half the municipalities in Grey County already allow it as of secondary suites as of right. But so that would be probably my number 1. Some of the other ones are smaller, like exclusionary zoning, number 3. They're talking about 4 units and up to 4 stories on a single residential lot. I believe that one probably would be a good one. Now, I wouldn't necessarily suggest 4 units and 4 stories, but we could look at possibly 3 units. Again, you're allowing the main use building, a secondary suite, and then some type of apartment within the building. So that would be your 3 units, and then up to 4 stories in height. If that's our current zoning is only 2.5 stories is the maximum height for a residential lot. We don't get a lot of requests for additional height, but that would be one that we would look at. Number 4 is something that the Ontario Building Officials Association and the province is already sort of working towards, modernizing some building code and other policies to remove barriers. One thing with the Ontario Building Code does deal with safety and environmental concerns and things like that, but a lot of those things do add costs to the construction of a house. So when we're trying to limit trying to reduce the cost of housing, there are some things that I think in the Ontario Building Code that could be adjusted to reduce some, to make the houses a little bit more affordable. And then I had one more. There are some that are, and I'm trying to pick the ones that I believe that would be relevant to our municipality. Some of these that allow, there's one here that allows wood zoning or wood construction up to 12 stories. I believe that would be appropriate under the Ontario Building Code, but I'm not sure that that would necessarily be pertinent to our municipality. Can't remember what number it was. Had one. Oh, 31. There talks about appeals of the OLT. That would streamline the Ontario Land Tribunal appeals and think that, and rely on evidence and experts' reports before it is accepted. So that would help streamline the process, I think, for appeals, which would reduce the number of appeals, which would overall increase the speed of an appeal that would bring more housing online faster. Yeah, I think that was the list I had right off the bat. Those are the ones that I think we should be our priority.
Okay, thank you very much, Carl. And Joyce?
Well, thank you. I was just wondering if the chief building official could just give those numbers. I was trying to go through what you felt, mostly reflective for West Grey, but I only caught number 6 and number 31. If you could clarify those other numbers that you felt were more beneficial to us. Thank you.
I believe it's 3, 4, 6, and 31. Right, Carl?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yep. 3 and 4. You missed.
And through your worship, there are some others in here that discuss, removing development charges and tax incentives and things like that. I believe that is probably more of a political question, and that mayor and councillors might want to discuss. And it comes down to whether communities want to fund other people's developments, other people's housing, and that's probably more of a political question than an actual construction building code question. That those are the questions, things that you might want to discuss at the council table, but not necessarily from my opinion.
Yeah, I think a few of those have certainly come up, that if this is the provincial mandate, those development charges and a few other tax incentives that municipalities can be giving. Again, surprising how the provincial housing, the ministry is very conscious of spending municipalities' money and not their own to develop their programs and reach their priorities. I don't think I need to say much more as to why I'm just a little bit gant on saying anything towards them on this. Okay. Thanks, Carl. Okay. If there's no other comments, what I would like to say is a couple that, and I'll throw a couple that I had. Number 5 was one that I noted as a right, to convert some of those commercial properties that have not redundant commercial properties, residential, get those into the mix would probably be best in rural small towns. Encourage and incentivize municipalities. Number 8, incentivize municipalities around, and that's been one that's been going on for a number of years. Schools that have excess capacity, and the School Alliance has talked about that, and that may be one to utilize instead of building more houses way over here and then decide that we need to build a school over here, and 10 miles away we have a school that is only half utilized. So getting that idea of building in and around schools, I think, is a good one. From there I went to a couple of other ones. Is number 50 and 51. If the province and the feds are pushing this 51, and this goes back to my thought of property tax dollars shouldn't be going into it. provide provincial and federal loans and enable municipalities to withdraw that infrastructure commitment. We have that, not as much in West Grey, but certainly a few other municipalities where there's been committed to the water and sewer commitments, and some of it's been sitting there for 10 or 15 years and hasn't been acted on. So I think it would be good if we could, no, you haven't done it for 5 years, you haven't built, or 3 years, whatever they want. Yeah, you go to the back of the line. We've got somebody that wants to come in and do. We've got uncommitted, but to have that tied up is something that's been a bother. And Amos worked on it for quite a while. And I could see Joyce nodding her head from her previous work of knowing how that ties the hands of municipalities on developing if that is tied up. Those were a couple that I had. A number of these in here don't pertain to us at all. I mean, including streets on bus and streetcar routes. We have some street cars, but they're driving on 4 wheels, and a lot of it is towards, so you can eliminate almost, I eliminated almost half of these that certainly don't even apply. So if there's no other wishes from any of the council members, work with staff and submit this in a timely fashion so that we meet. But I will say, in talking to a number of other municipalities, mayors, one in particular said, you know, the last time something like this came out, that they were looking for public input and whatnot. 3 days before the public input was to be submitted, the legislation come out already. So I'm not certain how much this is going to influence going forward, but we'll play the game. That is fine with council at this point in time. Just wanted to bring it towards to you. Okay, good with that, Doug?
Just a couple thoughts on that. I think truly to get to the bottom of the affordable housing thing, as you said, I think the funding, there needs to be funding from the provincial and federal level to help incentivize builders to do something. Like, I mean, we can't give out sums of money to builders to do that. But on the other hand, maybe there's opportunities if there's some land or buildings that we could make some kind of deals to the developers to use them. Then that might help try to get some things rolling. But again, I think a lot of it has to do, it comes down to funding from higher levels to incentivize building.
And that's one of the things, one of the main things is in there is what publicly owned lands are available to do that, you know, make them available. I'm not certain that the municipality of West Grey is in that position, whether we have an awful lot, certainly they're out there, but yeah, the province and Tom, was one of the things we talked about at the Conservation Authority. It was even conservation land in different areas, and certainly in the town of Durham, we have that. Is some of that land available for housing development as well too? So it has far-reaching impacts here. So we'll see where that one goes as well with the conservation authorities and other public entities per se. Okay. So it's not looking for any direction, but I was just looking for some comment on that. So thank you very much, and I'll look forward to Jamie helping me get that off on time. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 10.1.3. Oh, sorry. We need a motion to receive 10.1.2. A motion to receive that correspondence with my deputy mayor, seconded by Councillor Noon. Tom, Joyce, any further comments? Joyce, Councillor Noon.
So since we're just receiving it as information, we don't have to give our recommendations that the chief building official had touched on, or Mayor Eccles?
Through Mayor Eccles, that's correct. So the mayor as head of council can submit council's priorities or the mayor's priorities on their own. Council endorsement is not required for that.
We'll certainly take Carl's thoughts and whatnot as we go forward with that. Okay. All right. Motion's on the floor. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. 10.1.3. Was correspondence submitted by Marion Ratcliffe, who looking to make West Grey a dark sky friendly community. Do we have any further comments from staff on that correspondence? Or any questions from anyone? Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
I don't have a question. Maybe there's a question in this. I'll say, let's see, but my thoughts as I read through this, and as we've had numerous delegations from Dark Sky members, that I think, as I've said to them, I think education is the key here. Educating the public, educating our staff, and so on. So I would like to see us, given that they feel there's some concerns with us not acting on some of our statements that we made in the past, that I would ask that maybe some staff would have an opportunity to sit down with Marion and maybe with a couple other people that are quite educated on this topic, and just start to educate on terms of what's out there, what's available, what does all this mean. When I hear them talk about some of the different types of lights and so on, I'm not totally sure of what they're really talking about either. So I would like to see maybe staff meet with some members of this group to bring themselves up to speed in terms of what's out there. Like when we look at the walkway lights, and we put lights up there and then found out after that maybe they don't really meet the standards that we're looking for, that we should become more educated, more informed on what's available. So going forward, we can try to meet some of the criteria. And then we have to look at what we're really going to put in our official plan going forward, for sure, in terms of wording and that type of thing. But is that a possibility that, and here's my question, I guess, is that a possibility that staff would meet, whether it's building department, Cody, maybe our CAO, to sit down with Marion and group and just really learn more about what's out there, what's available, and what it might look like going forward. So that's my question.
Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council, for the question. Marion has consistently offered to provide advice, and she's been busy educating the community at large through a number of events. So we do have that relationship established. Some of the decisions that she speaks to in this correspondence were made by staff that are no longer here and on the advice of consultants of the day. So this truly is going to be an ongoing project, and I don't think that the connection between Marion and staff has been broken. So I'm not sure that that wouldn't continue. But if council would like that something on the record, that's fine too.
Doug?
Yeah, I'm not inferring that the communication is broken. I'm just thinking that do we really know? And maybe there's some research involved through staff and with Marion's help, that do we really know what standards we should maybe be looking for to meet the dark sky criteria. So I'm just thinking in terms of an education piece, get together, brainstorm, come up with some ideas, and then maybe make some recommendations back to council in terms of what we can do. I know it's a tough thing when you start going back and saying people at all kinds of lights out there and whatnot, and then for us trying to go in and say, well, you need to change your lighting. That's a tough one, so, but I think if people are educated, some maybe just don't know that this light doesn't really meet a criteria. Maybe it could be a better light. It could be motion sensor? Do you really need all those lights on? Do we really need all the lights on at our municipal office at night? We seem to be well lit up. So I think there's opportunity to make some changes. And I think we can take a leadership role, the municipality, so that other people will look at this and say, okay, well, municipality's serious about that and they're doing something, so maybe I should do something. So that's where I'm coming from. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hutchinson. And and I think there is work that can be done. We always sort of grapple between proper lighting and perceived safety and security. So those are some of the factors that ultimately influence recommendations, but that doesn't mean that we can't find that right spot working forward.
And I think there's been a fair bit of communication back and forth on the official plan. I look forward to that coming to us in the near future, in the very near future for passing. One thing about in the democratic process with legislation and regulations that are put into place as we go forward, they can always be amended and updated as new technology and advances come forward. And education, as we become more used to working with things, how it can be adapted to where we're at. But I think we need to get working to get that official plan in place and get it working so we can work towards, as you've said, a better community as a whole. So was there a motion out of that, Doug, or you want to leave it there that we can feel that we're on the right track where we are and continue working the way we have in a collaborative way instead of a more authoritative directed way?
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion, but I do hope that, in the future that we are able to sit with the staff, become more educated. Technology changes so much, these days. And I was thinking the other day when I was flying from Newfoundland and looking down at the earth with all the lights that were out there, and just how, there's probably a lot of lights that have been there for years and years and years. And nowadays with technology, things change, and there's probably better ways of lighting facilities and so on. So I would hope that going forward that the staff will take input from the Dark Sky Committee and we can come up with a plan. So I don't think we need a motion, but I do hope that we continue to work with the group and educate ourselves and educate the public as they have been doing. I know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else? Councillor Shea. Jeff?
Ms. Ratcliffe requests in her letter that council direct staff to review the lights on the two bridges that have been recently installed. Would that be an untoward or onerous request to staff? If it's something that staff feels that they could engage in, I would make a motion that we request them to do that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Shea, we can certainly look at that and bring back whatever the cost implications would be.
Okay. So Jamie, are you fine with that wording? Because I think I will accept that as a motion.
Through you, Miracles, yes, I'm just going to craft something quickly.
Okay. Before I ask for a seconder, we'll see if somebody wants to second it the way that the director is going to word it here.
So through your Mayor Eccles, I have that in consideration of correspondence received September 13th, 2023 from Marion Ratcliffe respecting West Gray, making West Gray a dark sky friendly community. Council directs staff to review the lights on the Garifraxa Bridge and the Heritage Walkway Bridge.
Looking for Jeff? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Shea. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hutchison. Doug? Any comment?
Could I also amend that motion to include the municipal office to look at the lighting?
Procedurally, is that a friendly addition or do you want that as an amendment?
Through you, Mayor Eccles, some will say there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. However, I don't have any ill feelings toward doing a friendly amendment in this case. Should the mover and seconder both be on board with that?
Any further comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering, it's like you say, a lot has been done and a lot of this is kind of trying to turn the clock back and fix things. My question, I guess, would be, are we meeting provincial and county regulations when it comes to dark sky now? And I think we'd be going down a slippery slope if we start getting to a point where we're trying to dictate to people what type of lighting they use, and understanding that some people want a dark sky and everything. There's other people that have, for whatever reasons, don't feel safe in the dark environment and they want things lit up. We've had cases of vandalism in the town of Durham where doors are getting kicked in by teenagers, and to tell those people that well, we need to cut back on the lighting because it's affecting the dark sky. Well, it's affecting their safety and well-being. So there's a very fine line to be balanced here as a council between safety and security and environmentally friendly dark sky. And I just don't want to see us getting into a position where we're dictating to residents, to builders, to individuals of what type of lighting they should have. Education is a great thing. Through the education process, we can educate people and we'll probably gain a lot of more dark sky friendly people. But I don't think we should ever get to the heavy-handed of dictating what needs to be installed on any new build in the municipality and for safety and security. And I think when it comes to that, we should be involving our local police force and everything and seeing what they feel is adequate lighting for places around the municipality, like the municipal office and those sorts of things. That's just my statement. Thank you.
And I think within that, it's his staff, and that probably would include our emergency responder deliveries, as well as what we think of as staff within the municipal office. So all of that would be included, certainly. Okay, we'll take it, Doug. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. All right. We've been here for about an hour and a half. Do you want to take a quick break for just a second? Clear the throats? Yeah, I can go and get a couple more Kleenexes and a tea to keep this fall cold going. Sweat it out there. Okay, all right, we'll call the meeting back to order. Thank you, everybody. Brings us down to 10.2 on the agenda. Correspondence received, which is presented for information. Do we have a motion to receive? Councillor Townsend, Deputy Mayor Hutchison. And no questions. Call the question. All those in favor? Go. Question. Councillor Hutchison.
I don't wish to pull any, but I just wanted to ask some questions about some of these because I think some of them are redundant in that we've already maybe dealt with them. So for the first one, Highway Traffic Act, I believe that was the speeding, using the speeding apparatus outside school zones and whatnot. I think we did support, we support a resolution. Okay. Then the other one was the school bus stop arm cameras. I believe we supported that also, right? And then I wondered with the one about the public health, raising the well water testing program. So obviously it's on our agenda. I'm just wondering, what are we doing to help get that information out there besides just what's in the agenda? Or I know public health is promoting it, but since we're one of the areas that people pick their water well sample bottles up from, is there anything we can do to help promote that, just to put that out there again? I think the information's been there in the past, but maybe there's some more details that in it that weren't there before. Is there something we can do, or what is our plans in terms of that process? Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hutchinson. Mr. Hewlett has been working with public health on this initiative, and I see that he's online, so maybe he can join us to give some updates. There he is. Thank you.
Cody?
Good morning, and through you, Public Health will be dropping the fridge off to us in the next few days as we get prepared for the water sampling, and they will assist us with all messaging. So basically messaging will flow through Public Health, and then we will share any messaging that they can send to us with it.
Okay, yep, very good, thank you. Maybe just a little segue that it's interesting that they're doing the well water testing and whatnot. Certainly don't want to get that confused. We had a delegation here last meeting. What the conservation is talking about with category 3 is absolutely nothing to do with this whatsoever. They're testing surface water is what they're talking about. It seems to get a little bit confused. A couple of other municipalities have jumped on and said, oh, water testing for consumption, and we can't turn that. That is absolutely false. That's not what the Conservation Authority is promoting towards us. The drinking water is not what they're testing. That's being done very stringently by our services. And the other factor, this one is for private wells that getting the sampling done from public health. So that the public doesn't get that confused out there. Okay. Anything else, Doug? Just for those little questions. Okay. I'll accept that. We don't need to pull anything any further. I have a motion on the floor. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. 11.1 staff report. Director of Legislative Services. Jamie, that would be you on Union Cemetery appointments. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. This report is just to formally appoint members to the Union Cemetery Board. So council initially reviewed applications for the Union Cemetery Board at its closed session meeting held on February 7th, 2023. At the time, there were still vacancies on the board that were re-advertised. Appointment of members to the Union Cemetery Board will mean the board has a full complement of members, and direction is required from council to formally appoint the members to the Public Cemetery Board, and the appointment is for the term of council.
Very good. And we have the motion, I believe, is in the report there, recommendation. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Forster. And seconder, Councillor Noon. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? on those appointments of those 4 individuals? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. The next one is request to join TAPMO. And Carrie, I believe this one's yours.
Thank you, through you,
Go
Mayor. We've received a request to join the TAPMO. We have not been a member of this organization before, so if council does wish to join, we would require a motion of council. The membership fee would be $1,600. It's generated, it varies depending on, it's a percentage of the torque fees that we receive in the prior year is how they calculate the annual fee. So it would be adjusted each year. But the report does hold some information from their website on the activities the membership supports.
Okay. Any questions on this? Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
Well, my first question comes to mind is, I was going to ask staff or Carrie, does she think this is something that would be worthwhile? Like, is it something that's going to really, is it worth the $1,600, put it that way?
I can't say one way or the other. We've not been a member of it. The report outlines the activities that they focus on, but I'm not familiar with the organization any more than what I've been able to pull off the website. So I don't have any further. I know they've done some work with, on the website, they do note the Wellington County, I think it was the appeal.
Yes.
They were involved with lobbying for some of that at that appeal, but I don't know a lot more details of that.
Well, it's basically a lobby group then, so is that correct? It's like they don't have any particular powers, but they're lobbying to make changes, right? Or to make sure that you get your fair share or whatever. So it's a lobby group.
It's, yep, to make sure that we're fair. They've done a very good job on, in the past, on increasing the torque fees. We're certainly through a portion of this. And then it was TAPMO did the lead on, as Carrie has said, on the Wellington County, on getting those assessments done correctly. It was quite a substantial, or quite a court case that went through and whatnot, that ended up an appeal process even on it, that it has been there. So we'll see, it'll be interesting. It'll be a great interest to the municipality of West Grey on getting the assessments done properly on all of our aggregate resource pits that are out there at this point in time. On a personal basis, attended their annual meeting and everything in at AMO. As they said, the top aggregate producing municipalities of Ontario, that's what TAPMO stands for. Municipality of, just as reference, municipality of Chatsworth, there's a number of municipalities around us. Southgate certainly is as well too. Center Wellington, Wellington County, a number of them. And the municipality of West Grey is probably maybe not one of the top producing, but certainly holds 60% of Grey County's aggregate resources, mapped resources, and Grey County has 60% of the reserve resources in Ontario. So yeah, I think it would be, I was surprised. I thought that we were, and I talked to Carrie a little while ago when this come up, and we already are, aren't we? We're the top producing in Grey County, and nope, we haven't been. But I think it's a small fee for what we would be getting back and supporting what the work that they've done. Any other questions? Joyce, Councillor New.
Are we in a financial, like with the aggregates, to pay out that kind of fee? And then on the flip side of it, what kind of revenues do we generate from any of our own pits, or I know the other pits in West Gray have to submit annual aggregate reports, and I don't know if we generate any revenues from that or not. I was just kind of wondering, kind of like on a revenue basis, where we are at versus our expenditure part of it. Thank you.
Gary?
We've probably been, our torque fees they've increased. They used to be around the $40,000 to $60,000. They did increase when the hydro corridor was being expanded. There was a lot of gravel extracted for that project. And have increased anywhere between $100,000 to $150,000 now that we get. I don't know off the top of my head what our expenses are, but we haven't had a lot of significant expenses, I don't believe, but I don't have that just off the top of my head.
That point, yeah, we collect through the Ministry of the Torque fees, as Gary said, somewhere between $120,000 and $150,000 a year through torque fees come to the municipality. Okay. The recommendation is there. Do we have anybody that would like to move that? Vote. All right, just before I take that, Jamie.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, the recommendation in the report is that it just be received for information. So if council wishes that staff take out a membership, then we would need a motion stating that.
Join Tapmo. Thank you.
I will move thank you. I will move the motion that we do join.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Tom. Seconder for that? Mr. Townsend, Doug? One. Comments on the motion? Doug?
I'm just curious, so would this fee come out of the revenue generated from aggregates then? Is that where that would come from that budget?
It'll come out, we'll expense it to our membership similar to AMO, Good Roads, that type of thing. But the revenue that we receive from the torque fees would be sufficient to offset it. But it will be expensed in your regular membership line, not netted against the revenue, if that makes sense.
That will keep the auditors happy. Is that's what you're saying? You want to be very careful of that when we had that report earlier today. Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
Is there any time commitment to membership? Does a staff person attend meetings, or does the council rep attend meetings or anything like that? Or we just give them the money and they lobby?
Gary?
Yeah, there's no staff. They do have an executive committee that amongst their members that I don't know, I'm not sure how often they meet. They did meet at AMO or quarterly, is it? But it's not I don't believe there's staff there. I think it's all elected representatives from the municipality or.
The executive, what do I want to say? The executive director of Tapmo is the deputy treasurer of Wellington County. There is some staff. There are a few staff members on the Tapmo board. Most are, the vast majority are elected officials. The chair is the mayor of Kawartha, Eastern Ontario, I think. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that's the board.
Yeah, unless one of us, we were running you'd have to get elected at their annual meeting to be on the executive, but that's not their ask at this point. They're not sparing a member or short a member.
So we would be putting our treasurer forward to be the next executive director. Thank you.
She may pull executive privileges and say no. Joyce, Councilor.
Well, thank you. Maybe it's just some point, it doesn't have to be this year, but maybe at some point, maybe this organization could come and just give us kind of an overview of what it represents, and maybe we have some questions at that time. Just some food for thought. Thank you.
Do know a couple of people that sit on there, and yeah, I think we can make that arrangement for sure. Okay. We have a motion to move to join Tapmo. No other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, thank you. One more. That was a little expense. 11.3. Seems to be a bit bigger expense. Jeff. Mr. Aiken.
Good morning,
your
Mayor and
report on
Council.
the Newstead Water Tower. Jeff, good morning.
Yes, on August 30th, a tender closed to repaint the Newstead Tower. There was $1 million approved in the 2023 capital budget. As you can see in the report, all the tenders came back over that. Since that time, we've been working with the two cheapest or lowest tenders, to see what alternatives we could do to the scope of work, to see if we could get it back in line. The answer is twofold, essentially. The first answer is no, there's no line item we can initially take out of the tender in order to make it fit the budget. So the base tender in front of you is 1.4 million. Now, what is unique about this project is the tower was built and commissioned at a time when lead paint had been banned, but potentially there would have been lead paint possibly still in storage at that time. So what is unique about this project is we need to take the tower offline, empty it, and sample it to confirm the actual content of lead paint. We're cheering for 0, because then the project then could be reduced to 851,000 and could potentially proceed within budget, but that's not what's in front of us right now. We have to assume a worst case scenario until the sampling is done, and that's how we got to the 1.4 million. So that's the ask in front of you today.
Any questions for Jeff on this? Pretty straightforward. Everyone, Townsend?
Thank you. Yeah, it is pretty straightforward. Just wondering about the lead paint testing. Could that not have been done before we went to tender? Or you said it's got to be taken offline and drained or something to test for the lead paint? I'm just wondering if we had did that work, or what that would have cost us to do that work ahead of time to test for that, if that would have helped in the process of tenders.
Through you, your worship, it's an interesting point that ideally that would have been the best case scenario, but it's painted on the inside. And we do know the inside is pitted and requires some welding as part of the project. What is critical path is to actually sample the paint on the inside of the tower, which means the tower does need to be emptied, sampled, then disinfectant, tested, and put back online. It's a fairly lengthy process, and in order to do that twice, potentially could create a lot of chaos with actually operating the system and working with the fire department to ensure fire flow. So we minimize our risk by doing it all in one shot.
Okay. Procedurally, before we go any further, we should have this recommendation on the floor. So I have a mover and a seconder that put it on the floor before we get heavily into the discussion. Moved by Councillor Shea, second by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions about the tender pricing, and it's just ones that are sort of flagged. I was curious about in the first number 7 talks about supply all equipment, material, and labor, and undertake adhesive test, and so on. So when you look at the two contractors, the first contractor is Coracote versus Dason. Okay, so Coracote's going to do that job for $1,175. Dason's going to do it for $9,000. When you look at the number 7.0A provisional pressure wash tank exterior, one is 6,500, the other one is 35,000. So I just question the discrepancy. Why the numbers are so much different given the same job, but then obviously they must be doing something different with the job. Can you explain that? Oh, sorry, I may have turned.
Through your worship, that's a good point. The reason we engaged with the two lowest tenders was to try and flush out those type of details. And at the end of the day, the best summary I have is it depends what each contractor has the skill set and the equipment in-house to do and what they require a subcontractor for. So when you add in the subcontractor, that's when you start seeing the price escalating as opposed to having the equipment and your own bodies do it.
Oh, sorry, further. So I guess that's the same with the number 14 and 15. Where particular 15 provisional contracts cost to handle lead presence, like one's $8,000, the other one's $37,000 there. So I guess which one did we go with? We're going with Dason, right? If that's the case, right? So there's this quite a bit more when it comes to the lead part of it. If they did that, anyways, I just pointed that out. I wasn't sure why there would be such a discrepancy, but I guess, like you say, that'll be the case of whether they have to subcontract or not. Probably so the deal. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything further on this? Looking for a leap of faith here for no lead. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Next one down is 11.4.1. Is Carl online? What's this? Yeah, it's Carl and or Mary. Okay. So we're on to the zoning amendment for Wright, Blair, and Miranda. Excuse me. And its recommendation there is council direct staff to bring the bylaw. We'll move her and seconder for that, and then we'll have staff present. Councillor Hutchison and Councillor Townsend. Thank you. Staff to present, Carl or Mary?
Good morning, Mary. Mayor, this is Mary Hall speaking.
Yes. Thanks, Mary.
Hi, how are you today? Just wanted to go quickly through this particular application. You have an application for you today from the Wrights, Blair and Miranda. They wish to build a detached dwelling for their son on their property. The detached dwelling will be located within the cluster of the existing buildings on the property. As a result of it being in the rural area, the Grey County official plan is the official plan that takes precedent over this property. And the county has provided comments back to the town on the property. It has actually got some natural features on it, as well as it's designated as agricultural. The county's policies do allow for a second dwelling to be placed on the property, so they had no concerns with that. They did actually bring up as a second note that there is an aggregate operation adjacent to the property, and that there has to be certain policies that have to be adhered to in regards to that aggregate operation and other land uses. Through the policy review, they determined that the proposed house that's going to be built and the distance to the aggregate operation is more than 300 meters, and as such, they have no concerns with the application. So the need for the rezoning is obviously to add a second dwelling to the property. And since it will be in the cluster and that it is meeting the policies of the official plan, staff do support the application before you.
Very good. Thank you, Mary. Any questions on the, I believe this was one that come forward to us from the last public meeting that we had. So we had a very good discussion on it about then. This is meeting the needs and the desires of the province to intensify and build new homes.
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah. Very good.
I was advised by the by staff that the zoning bylaw that is to be passed today does have the wrong exception number in it. And I'm sure your clerk will bring that to your attention that it does have to be amended to number 495.
Yep. So that will come forward probably at the next meeting when we have the bylaw, and we'll have all that incorporated in the new bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Questions, Councillor Hutchison? Doug?
Yeah, something I noticed this one, and we have an applicant this afternoon in our committee of adjustment too. The that the small water bottling operation has been sort of is legal non-conforming, so it's been grandfathered basically. I'm curious, why are people taking water bottle, like having a water bottling operation? Are there any rules or regulations on that in terms of how much water they're taking and what they're doing with the water? Like, I was curious, this one and the one this afternoon both have a water bottling operation. That's part of the, anyone respond to that?
Well, I would, in regards to the water bottling operation, from what staff has told me, is that they actually did go through rezoning at some point in time in regards to this particular water bottling operation. Unfortunately, when your zoning bylaw was consolidated, they forgot to add that in to the permitted uses within the zoning bylaw. So now it is now considered a legal non-conforming use, which is unfortunate because they did go through a planning process to have it recognized. Typically in a water bottling plant, if it's a large water bottling plant, as part of the submission of an application, they do have to show how much water they are taking out of the water. And there's usually a report that is done to show that there is no impact of the water that's being drawn from the aquifer to any abutting land use as a result of that. So I'm going to assume that that information had been provided to the municipality prior to you adopting the zoning bylaw.
Okay, or further, Doug, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I would hope that staff are on board and understand what this is all about, because I really don't know what the rules and regulations are on this. Maybe if it's a red flag, then we need staff to look into it further. But I just noticed that this application, there's one more coming forward this afternoon, both have a water bottling operation on their property, which is, I think, is unusual.
Well, it might have been unusual, but now you're starting to recognize that it's usual. It is usual. Yeah, there's a number of small ones that are out there, and I think, as Mary's just said, from my understanding, they've got to meet regulations. It used to be 50,000 liters. They couldn't go above that on a daily basis. The only reason that I'm semi-familiar with it was involved with the I believe there's an operation, and that wouldn't be classified as small, over near Feversham. It's called Arctic Clear, and all those measurements and whatnot and calculations have to go through the Ministry of Environment. So it is highly regulated. How much of the highly regulated stuff gets down into these smaller ones, I'm not going to offer an opinion on that, but there will be certainly extraction regulations that they have to meet, and performance requirements that have to be updated on an annual basis, at least annually. Okay. All right. Any other questions on the motion? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Questions? We're down to questions. Does anybody have any questions on the for staff or anyone today? Gone. Bylaws. We've got Jamie down to doing this correctly. One bylaw today. Thank you very much for your time sensitivity on this, Mr. Clerk, Director of Legislative Services. Bylaw 13.1, bylaw confirming the procedures today. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. New business. Any new business? None recognizing. Announcements. Announcements. Certainly, Councillor Forrester. Scott?
All right, coming events. The Elmwood Chamber of Commerce is having their final wing night on Friday, October 6th, 5 to 9. The West Grey Library Trivia Night was mentioned in their presentation earlier. October 14th, starting at 7. And the Optimists of Norby Township are having their murder mystery overboard at Hooligans Island. Doors open at 6, dinner at 7. $40 a person, held at the Dayton Arena.
Yes, 21st at the Dayton Arena. The library one is at the town hall. Yeah, Durham Town Hall. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything to report on? Deputy Mayor Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Echoes. I've got a few things actually. Last Wednesday, the Elmwood Joint Fire Department held its annual awards. Just want to congratulate Craig Kuntz and Jay Frederick for a 5-year award, service award. Scott Beckenhauer received his 20-year award. And last but not least, Wayne McLeod, 45 years of service and retirement. So just want to congratulate them all and thank all the firefighters for their dedication and service. Good segue in. Last Thursday actually was Check Your Smoke Detector Day. So I want everybody to check the batteries. And I was brought to my attention that they actually have a average of a 10-year lifespan. So check the expiry dates. We do have a West Grey mixed recreation slow pitch team that played in the Hamilton NSA provincial championships 2 weeks ago, and they won it. And they're going to be going on to Kamloops, BC next August for the Nationals. So I think congrats to them for sure. And I think that's all I have to announce. Thank you.
Well, they've got a year to practice to get onto the national, or
What they do is they start again for the following year.
exactly. Good for them. One other announcement as far as baseball goes, we had a young individual that represented Canada from the municipality, Alex McGilvery. The under-20 team was in Colombia a few weeks ago for the Americas Championships, for the under-20 fastball championships. The team qualified for the Worlds that are being held in Mexico. I can't pronounce the name of the city where it is, but it's just a little bit south of Phoenix, Arizona, very close to the border with Arizona, where he'll be going. And he's been chosen to represent Canada on this team that will be competing for the World Championships, November 11th to the 19th. So pretty fascinating that we've got this young individual from here that is representing us there. So good luck to Alex on getting down there for that. If there's anything else, anyone? Yes. Last Thursday night, thanks for reminding me of that, Tom. The community gardens in Durham being shifted to the north side of Sadler Street. Partnership with the West Grey Durham Lions that are putting a dog park in where that portion is on the south side of the street, and the community gardens going to the north side of the street. But on last Thursday, got to congratulate staff for resourcing some donations from Trees Canada and surprisingly the LCBO that donated 25 trees. And thank you to the council members that showed up to help us plant those and put the dirt in and all of that. A little bit of work for us and whatnot, but there's 25 fruit trees in the where the community gardens is going to be, basically across the street from the Durham Community Center. 13 apple, 9 pear, and 3 cherry, I think is what the mix was. So probably won't be a huge crop next year, but there certainly will be some crop even coming next year and in the years going forward. So that great work there. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention October the 14th, Durham Hospital Foundation's Boots and Bling. Their main fundraiser is on at the Durham Community Center. Tickets can probably be from the foundation or any of the foundation members. One of them being our police chief might be able to sell you a ticket if he's not giving you a ticket. Don't stop him for that portion. Anyways, Mr. Martin and a few other ones are there, so look forward to that evening. And that may be a little bit of a trouble trying to be at 2 places at once with the library's trivia night that's on that same night. Anyways, that's it for me. Nothing else. That's it for announcements. No closed session. No reason for a closed session. Adjournment. That's everything on the agenda. We stand adjourned. 11:13. Thank you very much. We'll see you back here 2 o'clock.